Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video. Now today's video is one that I know a lot of people have been asking for a while from me, which is me to take a look at the Death Korp of Krieg in 8th edition. I did say, I always promised I would eventually get around to doing Death Korp of Krieg. I'm glad that I've waited this long just because everything's settled down a little bit, hopefully. I'm not sure how much Death Korp of Krieg are going to get changed going in, with the March sort of chapter approved FAQ points changes. So I think it's a good time now that it seems like Guard have been left alone for the most part, that we can take a look at the Death Korp of Krieg. I think Death Korp originally started out 8th edition kind of weak. They were okay, but they often missed out on a lot of the good stuff that Guard got. I think now that they've been sort of FAQ'd to the point where they basically get all the Guard stuff, they're much better. Today I'm just going to take a look at the Death Korp Krieg Regimental Doctrine, or equivalent thereof, and the orders. Basically, that's all I'm going to take a look at today. Because they're the number one thing that separates Death Korp from regular guards, and there are some other little bits like points changes and weapon skill, but we'll cover those in later videos. But for now, I'm just going to do a little bit of a quick look at the Death Korp of Krieg, and just to give just to give you some ideas, because obviously Guard have changed a lot, and as I said, I'm still trying to find ways to get these fearless infantry units back, and but being able to battle with tanks, and Death Korp can definitely offer things in that department. So yeah, everyone knows the Death Korp of Krieg are. They're a forge-wheeled regiment. They're really cool, really fun, World War I style. I've got about 5 or 6 of them models. That's it. They're very expensive, but they are really cool. Their whole thing is having waves of infantry, World War I style, that are happy to martyr themselves for the Emperor. So, so you'd think straight away that obviously the army would be built around being able to being perfect for 8th edition. So how come they weren't super strong? How come we didn't see them winning loads of tournaments? I think it comes down to a couple of things, but let's take a look at the regimental doctrine now. Cult of Sacrifice. So, I should clarify here, Krieg units technically don't have a regimental doctrine, not like you see in the main Guard Codex. They just, and there was a bit of confusion about could Krieg take regimental doctrines and have the Cult of Sacrifice special rule. That has been clarified now, where Death Korp have Cult of Sacrifice. That is the equivalent of their regimental doctrine, and it's a really simple one, but I think it's very powerful. The unit ignores models slain in the shooting phase when taking morale tests. So that's really cool. That's really good, because it just means that you can be doing lots and lots of shooting. You can get yourself into some good firefights and not have to worry about casualties. Your opponent will have to kill you down to down every last man and woman and child in your army before you stop doing damage to him. Battle shock will not take care of his woes. Second thing that's really good about this is it saves you a lot of points. So, because typically I think Death Korp models have always been a little bit more expensive point for point than regular guards. So I think a regular guardsman is 4 points, and a regular Death Korp of Kriegsman is 5 points. So you're paying obviously an extra point across the whole army for each model, just for your infantry. So this Cult of Sacrifice is really good, because it essentially means you don't need to take commissars or regimental standards or any of those other things that we pay a premium for over in the Imperial Guard Codex. You don't need to spend any points on any of those, because your guys aren't really going to take battle shock. Yeah, you might take some in the combat phase, but that's generally speaking not the biggest part of 8th edition. 8th edition is still very much a shooter game. There are assault units out there, but it's still very much a shooter game. So that's really, really good. So whilst you're paying extra points for your guardsmen, you are saving points by not having to take commissars. So probably or lord commissars or inquisitors or regimental standards or whatever. That's good. Now, Death Korps of Krieg have some unique orders as well. They have the usual voice of command, although they can issue orders to infantry or cavalry. So that's cool. That's really cool. That you can, because you can't order cavalry in the regular Imperial Guard Codex, because Rough Riders are an auxiliary unit, so you can't order them because they're not part of your regiment. But you can, if you're Death Korps and you have Death Riders, you can order them if you have the voice of command special rule, which is really cool. I don't know how relevant the orders would be to that unit. You could probably do things. There's a couple you could do. Like move would be a really cool one. That would really get you close. But yeah, anyway, so the Death Korps have the usual orders. They have bring it down. They have obviously real ones in the real ones to reinforce the Emperor. You can still shoot him if you're advanced. Get back in the fight. You can fall back and shoot. Move. You, instead of shooting, you move and advance as if it were the movement phase, but you cannot charge. And fixed bayonets. If you're in close combat, you can, in the shooting phase, fight. So that's cool. They also have a couple of unique orders. You'll notice how they don't have first rank fire, second rank fire, which is a big negative against them. Okay? You'll notice how they have two unique orders as well. Duty unto death and without mercy. Now, duty unto death is interesting. Any infantry or cavalry unit model in the unit that is killed in the fight phase immediately makes a single attack. You see, it's kind of cool. You wouldn't necessarily use this on infantry, you would use it on cavalry. So if you read it carefully, it says any infantry or cavalry unit model in the unit that is killed in the fight phase immediately makes an attack. So you do this order in the shooting phase, but it's in the fight phase that it takes precedent. Now, how you would get most use out of this is you take some Death Riders and then you give them this order and then you would charge them into an enemy unit. So you would get to use your lances, and then even if the enemy killed some of your guys, because they've got duty unto death on them, they can make an attack with their lance still, because it's still the fight phase that they charged. So there you go. Without Mercy is your replacement for first rank fire, second rank fire. It's all lasguns and all hotshot lasguns in the order unit change their type to pistol 2 until the end of the turn. Let me put it this way, I think Death Korps of Krieg would do much better if they had first rank fire, second rank fire. Because your lasguns are rapid fire, I guess it makes you better at firefights at 24-inch range to 13 inch to 24-inch range, basically. A maximum range of the lasguns. Basically, if you are... Because lasguns are rapid fire 1, if you're within 12 inches you get 2 shots. There's no point in using this order if you're within 12, if you're within rapid fire. It's just use rapid fire and use bring it down instead. If you're at long range, then using this will allow you to get 2 shots, because it says you're pistol 2. It doesn't affect your range. You've still got 24-inch range. You just technically got a 24-inch range pistol. So, you'd use this at long range. How it's kind of meant to be used is you're meant to use it in the shooting phase when you're already locked up in combat. So you're meant to give the enemy let's say you've charged in with a unit, you're then meant to, in the next turn, give the enemy a blast of lasgun fire, and then continue to fight them in close combat. Problem is with this is that there's no real advantage to you really staying in combat. I mean, guardsmen are just guardsmen at the end of the day. It doesn't really help. You'd be much better served just falling back and then using get back in the fight and then just rapid firing them. It'd be much better served. It does have some utility though. I'm sure, I don't know Death Queen super well. I'm sure there will, you know, being able to shoot all your hotshot las guns in close combat with your Stormtrooper equivalent Grenadiers. I think that's cool. And also sometimes you can't fall back. Sometimes, you know, you have to hold on to the objective. You cannot fall back. You cannot give that ground. And being able to give the enemy a blast of lasgun fire at close range could make the difference. Could tip the combat in your favour. So yeah, that's sort of the interesting thing about Deathcore. I think the reason they struggle, and this is going to be sort of a teaser for you know, for next videos. By the way, guys, I'm not promising when the next Deathcore video is going to come out. I might do it soon, but I kind of I've got some battle reports that need doing. And I also want to return to my basic tactics and do their heavy weapons. But I think the problem that Deathcore has, and the reason why I don't think it's super powerful, but I think Cult of Sacrifice is really, really good. But does it make up for the fact that Deathcore is a really schizophrenic army? Your army is sort of geared towards close combat, but especially your basic guy, you know, all your men have got weapon skill 3+. So your army's sort of geared towards close combat, but you're not really very good at close combat because you're just a regular guardsman at the end of the day. You know, you're still better off shooting the enemy than stabbing them. So it's a really strange one. It's a bit of a schizophrenic army. They've got Cult of Sacrifice, which allows them to ignore morale in the shooting phase, but then they're sort of designed to get into the combat phase. When you get into the combat phase, you take battle shock, and also you've only got one attack per guy, and it's not that great. So it's a bit of a weird one. It's a bit of a strange one. Cult of Sacrifice, I think, is really, really powerful. Really, really powerful. You know, you can take yourself 200 Kriegsmen, which will cost you 1,000 points, and you're not going to have to worry about a single morale test. You know, if you took something like 150 to 180 Kriegsmen, and then spent, you know, got sort of 15 squads or so, and then spent a whole load of points on giving them some, you know, some good shooting, pardon me, you then have that, which costs you about 1,000 points. You spent about 1,000 points on your infantry. You could then spend about 1,000 points on things like scions or Lehman Russes or artillery, and you know, that would be really, really good. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I know I'm not a Krieg specialist, but what I want to do, what the point of this video was to give some to highlight the Deathcore, give some awareness to them, and if people are looking for some basically fearless infantry, you know, lots and lots of fearless infantry, then try running some Korp of Krieg. You don't, you know, most people won't be bothered if you don't have the Korp of Krieg models. If you have Cadians painted up to look like Korp of Krieg, or Cadians with a head swap for some gas masks would probably do you, because Deathcore is something like 30-40 pounds for a squad of 10. You know, you've got Anvil Industries who do some Deathcore alternatives, and they're quite good, but you know, they're still like £25 per squad. You know, so I think the best way to do it, you could definitely get some Cadians, buy a load of heads, and probably on average do a squad of Deathcore for like 20 quid. That's pretty good. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Any Korp of Krieg players out there now, leave lots and lots of comments down in the comment section. This is your time to show off your army, to convince us other guard players that Korp is the way to go. Or it's your time to say, look guys, don't go out there and spend £500 on Fortune models. Korp aren't worth it. They're fun, but they're not great. You know, tell us. You know, leave comments about how to use the order without mercy, how to use the order duty unto death. You know, I'm probably missing a trick here. You know, again, this is kind of like musings on Korp. You know, I did musing on Tempest of Silence. Sort of musing on Korp of Krieg. You know, musings on them. Last thing to say, for those of you who are, just before I forget, for those of you who are thinking, let's take a bunch of Korp conscripts, they don't get access to conscripts. So you couldn't take a bunch of conscripts with Cult of Sacrifice and make them basically fearless. Sadly, if Death Korps could take conscripts and they had Cult of Sacrifice, I'd be all over it. All over it. So, hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Leave lots and lots of comments, and as always, I'll see you guys next time.